Okay, I'm going live. Can you let us know if y'all can see it? Go to the YouTube and go live. Thank you. Don't pay attention to the number of viewers because it should only be one because we just have one computer in there. And if you all need to send me a message where it says private chat, because I won't be in this portal once I turn it over to you, I will go down.
It's kind of lagging now.
It's
Getting that
lagging on
feedback
my
over here. I'm hearing feedback. That's all.
Yeah, Caleb, there's a bit of crackling from your end.
Keep playing that game again, y'all.
Nah,
Damn
it
kids.
might be my computer. I think that's just the fan
Turn
on
the
my
game off,
on my.
man. Turn it off.
The
Hold up. Give me 1 second. Nah, the game really off. It's the computer. It's the
That's
fan
better.
on the
That's
computer.
that's better. That's better, Caleb. Whatever you're doing right now, it's coming back
Hold on.
though.
Let me go get my AirPods. I'll be right back.
Okay. And we do have a hard stop at 7:30. So just so that y'all know, as we're going through the conversation, there will be a hard stop at 7:30. So
Even
we
if
will
we're
not
just so fantastic,
y'all should be so fantastic, but we still want to just kind of pause it at 7:30.
you're lost.
Okay, then this is what we're going to do. I'm gonna have y'all log into StreamYard then. I don't know if it'll do the same, but I'm gonna send you this link. Oh. And then y'all just log in and I'll figure that other piece later. With your login credentials? Nope, just log in and y'all will kind of be like them. Oh no, but then we can't do comments. What's in if you have the one to the live, like the link overall? Could you do that? Like for share? What's that? Um,
Tanya, can you mute for a second just so we can check to see if that's you?
Yeah.
Byron, can you mute just to see if that feedback is coming from you?
Sure.
It's not you, Chris. Not me.
Not me. It's dead silent over here. I ain't got nothing. I turned everything off.
I don't know what it would be, Byron, but do you have a microphone on that
Oh no, the earpiece.
on the actual earpiece?
Let me just. Is that better? I just unplugged the earpiece.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
So much better.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'm glad it's better.
We ain't take it personal. We ain't take it personal.
Chris was getting a little upset. I saw it, but
yeah, I was like, "What is the noise?" Like it's like
he
that.
he let it go.
It ain't no video game. I can promise you that.
Yeah, that's all I was trying to blame it on.
he almost took it personally.
I said, "Damn kids in these video games."
Can y'all hear it now?
No,
No, it was me.
I think we figured it out. It was you. It was still you, Caleb.
Yeah, nah. My AirPods for some reason it won't connect to my laptop. So
You got
I think
dial
we
up.
lost it.
You got dial up internet, Caleb?
nah, nah. I got an old MacBook, man. I gotta replace it.
I hear you. It's back.
It might be a fan on. Hey Byron, is your computer fan on? Is it running a little bit in the background?
It could be. I don't know. I hear nothing.
What we might want to do is, if we're not talking, then we might want to hit the mute button. I don't like the cordial stuff. I'd rather just let it be more organic, but might be helpful to mute when we're done talking and unmute when we're ready to talk.
I'm going to hit my mute button now just for a test. Can you let me know if you're still hearing it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it went away. Yeah, it just might be a computer fan running a little too loud.
Okay, I'll remain muted until time to speak.
Chris, you're not hearing it still with me unmuted? Okay.
Nope. And I'm mute. I'm always, whenever I'm on a call, I hop on a mute when I'm.
Yes. Okay, perfect. All right, we got it, y'all.
Caleb disappeared on us, but
That's okay. They're working a couple of other tech things on their end. I can hear them yelling, "Turn it up." Yeah, Caleb will be back. That's okay.
The audio is coming from your laptop right now, so we're working on getting it to the TV, but we're gonna make it as long as we can.
Perfect. Wait, so start now or just hang tight? Okay. Okay, Grace.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's up there?
Except Aubrey.
Okay.
I'm about to go see.
Yep.
Is she up there?
Recording in progress.
is the other one you have going for the under 18 folk, Tanya?
Yes. Yes. We have 5 ladies that are 13 to 18. I mean, 13 to 16.
And you have a panel with them?
So no, for them, I have just one person that's there, and he's sharing thoughts from a dad's perspective. It's a dad of 3, and he's just sharing thoughts. It gets less like okay, let me check. Hey y'all, can y'all hear me? Okay, great. All right, well, let's get started then. Hey, everybody. Y'all know me, Mama T from Bridge Every Gap, and I'm excited because this year we have another dynamic panel who is coming to deliver it live virtually for our male exclusive panel. And we're excited because we're just getting an opportunity to get different perspectives of our males who are here. Coming to the stage in just a little bit, we have our host for tonight, which is Caleb Davis. And we're very excited to have him. But we also have some dynamic panelists, and we're going to give them a chance to introduce themselves. We have Mr. Byron Rowe, Mr. Chris Holden, and we have Mr. Kyle Sullivan. And so we're going to turn it to you all in that order. Please introduce yourselves to the ladies at She.
Hello, my name is Byron Rowe, and I don't know what to say about myself as far as an introduction. I'm retired from the Navy. I'm active in my church as an elder. I am obviously not sounding very well based on the looks on the faces of the other panelists. Can you hear me okay?
No, you were fine. It was the Navy thing. It was the Navy.
Don't hold it against me. It's a thing of the past. I currently work for the Department of Veterans Affairs, unless I've been doged since I left the office this afternoon. But I'm happy to be a part of this panel and look forward to any questions I might be able to answer or anything I might be able to say or do to help somebody on their walk.
I'm Chris Holden from Raleigh, North Carolina. Spent 8 years as an Army Ranger, so a veteran. From that point on, moved into private sector business where I currently am, and just very excited about the opportunity to speak on some very interesting topics. So I'm happy to be here.
Hey everybody, I'm Kyle Sullivan. I do a bunch of different things. My primary role is as a professor of human development and mental health counseling. I do some research in diversity and special education and disability. And I'm a development practitioner. So I do a bunch of stuff with helping people grow, change, and develop in the multiple capacities that they hold. Excited to be here with y'all.
All right, so we have these gentlemen here and we're going to kick it off. Caleb is coming right away. He's just got a little bit of technical difficulties, but as soon as he gets in, he's going to jump right in and start where we are. So we got a list of questions and I'm going to turn it over to you guys. What question do we want to start with? I know, I just flipped the script completely. What question do we want to start with? Yeah.
I like those first ones that we had highlighted on our page here. But the first one was what does being a man mean to you, or how has society's expectations of masculinity affected how you perceive your own masculinity? It's a good place to start, I think.
Excellent. So let's go there. Thank you.
I defer to Byron to start us off.
Well, I don't know if it has to do with my upbringing, but masculinity and what it means to be a man, being raised by a single mother. Maybe my outlook on that whole thing is different from most men, but for me, being a man means to be in touch with who you are and to be approachable by those around you. It means to be a leader. It means to be responsible. And it means to take responsibility for one's actions. But, I also feel that I can be a man and be extremely emotional without losing 1 ounce of my manhood. And maybe that came from me being raised by a mother without a father in the house. I don't know. But my mother was a strong woman. She could be emotional when necessary, but she was always strong. And I gained strength watching her navigate as a single mom. So I think that you can be a man, you can be responsible, you can also be vulnerable. In fact, I believe being vulnerable and not being afraid to show your emotions makes you more approachable as a man, especially to your children.
Byron, I love that. I love that response. I guess you can say very similar to a lot of people. I believe being a man is the protector and provider stance, of course, the leader, the problem solver. But I think as time has gone on, it also points out that, you can be an emotional leader. And when I say that, it's okay to share, traumas, feelings that you may have went through. And like Byron said, not lose a bit of masculinity. So I would say, it's, being a man is head of the body, leader of the team. That's always how I'm gonna look at it. But that doesn't mean that, you lack the empathy or compassion needed.
Yeah, I appreciate both of your responses. I think that a previous version of me, maybe 6, 7 years ago when I was a pastor, held similar views, where being a man meant being the protector and the provider, meant the one that is the one who's responsible, the one who is kind of the container that everything else kind of swims in. And I think over time, especially navigating my own journey, being a man has kind of lost some of the binary aspect of it. That it's not black and white. That the same things that both of you mentioned have been those roles, those responsibilities have been fulfilled by women in my life, and have also been fulfilled by people who don't prescribe to a binary at all. People who are deeply responsible, who are protectors, who are providers, who don't have a penis, for example. And so I have looked at gender and sexuality from a bunch of different perspectives. It's one of the areas of my research where I'm looking at things and saying, oh, life doesn't always fall into these black and white categories. And so for me, being a man is to say, what are the ways that I have been formed by the systems and socialization around me that have forced me to conform to a particular way of being and doing in the world? And does that fit who I am? Is that something that I want to take on, or are those identities that I want to drop off and allow to have more of an equal or egalitarian view of how we relate to each other?
All right. Is Caleb, you ready to move us to the next question? Or you still playing with that dial-up internet?
I'm trying to get the questions to pop up. I have to do it on my phone now because my computer
That's
froze
fine.
on me.
That's fine. It's
Um,
not technically old school using your phone and your computer at the same time.
um, my bad. It was not my computer didn't do this all week long.
That's what they say.
Here, while you get that working on, you want me to read off one of the next questions, my friend?
Yes.
Okay. Um, the second question was, how has society's expectation of masculinity affected how you perceive your own masculinity?
Byron, you want to take it?
I don't mind jumping in on that one because for me, I don't feel very much like I'm persuaded by society. I don't feel like society dictates anything to me. I don't feel like society has given much to me, and therefore I don't feel like I owe society very much. So I make my own decisions about masculinity based on my own environment, my home life. If I'm a man at the house, I feel like I'm man enough to go out into the world. So society really doesn't affect my masculinity.
Tell him, Byron. I I can agree. Society doesn't affect my masculinity, in my opinion. But at the same time, there are some effects that are stem from society. And I say that to say, I'll give you an example. I was at NYU, and I was in a group of four teammates. They were all women. I was the only guy. And I sent an email out. I said, ladies, this is what I saw and gathered from X, Y, and Z. Please let me know your thoughts. And one of the women hit back, could you please refrain from using sexist language? It is offensive. And if sexism didn't exist, I wouldn't say this. I was I didn't get it, because, I was like, I thought my iPhone may have changed ladies to thoughts or something like that. I didn't know, but I talked to one of my colleagues. She stepped in. She says, I didn't find anything Chris said offensive, but too and unaware that, where I'm from in the South, it's ladies and gentlemen. You don't know a lady, it's ma'am or lady, things in that nature. And some people take that as toxic masculinity. Now, I can be mindful of how people might interpret it, but that does not mean that I'm gonna change some very values that I've been brought up with. Some people take it to an extreme. I just choose to say, okay, I understand. I'm sorry you feel that way. Move on. But I won't let these, society dictate my masculinity, because so often, people call, a man falling in regular gender roles or doing things that he's, been happening for a while, toxic masculinity. Now, I'm not talking about those guys who make those comments or say those things or treat women a specific way. It's me getting someone, Caleb. Boy, I tell you, boy. I said, like, me getting a door for a woman. She's like, that's toxic masculinity. I can get my own door. I was like, okay. So I don't let it dictate who I am. I'm going to continue to be who I am and who I was raised. I've been me for 42 years. Does it help shape me? Absolutely. Does it keep me mindful? Absolutely. But it doesn't change, per se, me as a whole.
Yeah, I just think so much of this comes from just, we get most of our education through media. And that's just pretty known fact, unless we are growing up in communities that are, really tight knit. And so when people throw around things like toxic masculinity, there is not a common definition of what that means. And there's an individual interpretation and way of allowing that to show up in our lives. So that person who is asking you to hold the door and says that's toxic masculinity, to another person who has a different understanding of toxic masculinity, that might not be the same thing. And so for me, this is all about translation. This is all about what does it mean to be a human being and how do we interact with each other well. And so for me, when I think about how am I shaped, it's like these are the invisible waters that we swim in. A shark doesn't know that it's swimming in salt water until it's out of it. And so I have been shaped by a masculinity that says I have to be a particular way in order to be a man. And I don't necessarily prescribe to all of them. When I hear things like toxic masculinity, there is a particular stereotype that I experience of that, which is a man who is domineering, who is not respectful, who believes they are the man of the household to the extent to which they are the master of the household, which I think has different connotations in different contexts. But for me, it's all about individual choice. And so when I think about what does it mean to be a man, it's like, okay, how does your household want to function? How do you want to function as a person? And then do we consider the people that are around us and whether or not I'm imposing my way on your way? And that's a whole different conversation. So for me, it's like, I have my view of masculinity. Y'all have your view of masculinity. And it only becomes a problem when we try to impose it on one another or on the people around us. And this is when we have to begin to have mindful conversations that negotiate what it means to live well together.
I appreciate that response a lot, Kyle. Like, I think the imposing piece is probably the most important. That's where, it becomes that's where it becomes the issue. Yeah. Caleb, you got your stuff together yet?
Yeah, I got it together now. I had to go get my second computer. Okay, y'all. I'm sorry about all of that.
He has a second computer. Come on.
You should have led with that one.
Nah, the one that messed up was my main computer. That's the crazy thing. But gotta count your blessings. So sorry about that, everybody. Saw that they introduced themselves. I'm just now getting on here to question 3. I'm Caleb. I'm your host. I was here last year as a panelist. Yeah, good to see you all. Sorry about the mix-up again, but question number 3. What do you think is the biggest misconception women have about men, and how do you handle setbacks and misconceptions?
I'm always deferring to Byron.
And this time I'm going to defer back.
My man, way to kick it right back to me. So what is the biggest? I think the biggest misconception. I don't know if it's the biggest misconception. You could easily say that men aren't emotionally tied to women, because you see so many who don't understand how to deal with their emotions and respond in a violent way. But I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I've met women who said men aren't emotional creatures, and that's the farthest thing from the truth. I think that's extremely critical because, as I stated, it goes one way or the other. There's a lot of men who get so emotionally attached to something or a woman, that they go too far or they lose themselves in, or, often called a simp or that crazy individual. But, as far as that piece, I've been told, or, it's been assumed that I, lacked emotion or those feelings. But I pay it no mind. Me personally, if I'm looking to get to know somebody, whether they be in a romantic aspect or, on a friend level, I break down barriers and lead through my actions. You just have to make sure your actions match, those words. I'm one to believe you should, over deliver and undersell. Don't go out here on the whim saying, "Hey, I got you a boat," or and I can barely afford a floaty. And that's an analogy for that one. But I feel like it's the men lack the emotional intelligence or aren't emotional creatures, and I just move to show through my behaviors rather than my words, and make sure that I'm able to control and maintain those.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that there are ways that we uh, put everybody into same categories or make these generalizations about people. I think a lot of the work that I've done in diversity, equity, and justice has been around like none of our experiences are what's called a monolith. There's no single experience. There's no single story, and that the attempt to make a single story actually just minimizes the lived experience of each person that we interact with. But I think there are some misconceptions and generalizations that are accurate, and I think it's because um, at least the masculine in our society have not been held accountable to develop in particular ways that show an emotional development or an emotional maturity, an intellectual maturity, a spiritual maturity, physical maturity, a social maturity across the board. And so I think that we allow men to remain boys for too long, and we don't actually there's systemic things that allow for this to continue to happen. And so misconceptions are rooted sometimes in a truth, and I just don't think that it's something that we can say all men do this, all men do that, all the masculine is this way. And so for me, I think the greatest misconception is that we can categorize or overgeneralize across the board.
I think in terms of misconception that women have about men, I can't speak to that very well. I've been married for 36, almost 37 years. And the misconceptions that I can speak of are not women, it's woman. The one woman that I've been married to for for so long. But I think the one thing, and I hope we've got a better understanding of it now, but the one thing in our relationship, in our marriage, that was a misconception was that I wasn't willing to open up about things, that I wasn't willing to talk about things. And the truth of it is, there are so many things that I'm willing to share and to talk about, but I don't want to share the details of things that I'm working on that your knowing would make you more vulnerable. I want you to be confident that I am your protector, and there's some things that you don't need to worry about. So I don't bring them to you because I want to worry them and work through them myself. Now, the problem my partner has, my wife has with this is that she says, if you tell me, then I have a better understanding of why you're so quiet about certain things. And I know when something's bothering you. I understand that. So I do share more. But there's some things that I worry about sometimes that never come to fruition. And if I can shield her from that, I think that our lives are better. We may or may not agree. We may or may not agree on that, but that's just my opinion. So for her, the misconception, I think, is that I'm trying to keep things from her, when in fact, my not sharing doesn't mean I want to keep something from you. It means I'm trying to be the protector that I believe myself to be in my household.
Great answers, man. Great answers. We're going to move on to the next section. Since we're on a time frame today, the next section is emotional intelligence, personal growth, and faith. So to start off that section is, what do you do to navigate your emotions and feelings? And how does that affect you in your daily life as a man?
Well, now that's one thing I will talk to my wife about. My feelings, I don't mind sharing my feelings. My emotions, I find it very helpful when I talk to her about the things that are bothering, the things that are troubling me. And that might sound like a contradiction from what I just said when I last had the mic, but I hope it doesn't. I hope you understood that what I'm saying is there's some things I feel I need to protect her from, but the things that I get wrapped around the axle about, and the things that make me emotional, the things that disturb my sleep, I very much want to talk to her about those things, because sometimes she brings a perspective that I hadn't considered. And the two of us together are a whole lot more smart than either one of us alone. Although sometimes she's smart enough right by herself. But for me, for sure, I need her to complete me in a lot of ways. So in terms of emotions, I don't mind sharing the things about which I'm emotional with my wife, and I think I'm better for it.
Chris or Kyle?
Yeah, I think emotions are information. I think that the more that we can become aware of the sensations that we're experiencing in our day-to-day life, in our moment-to-moment life, the better we are at relationships, period. The better we are at moving through the world. And so for me, how do I navigate my emotions and feelings? I do my best to be aware of what I'm feeling in any given moment, to give it a name and to share it to the best of my ability. How do I do that? How does it affect my daily life? I'll answer that first. And then there was a question about resilience. It affects my daily life because the more I become aware of these sensations that I'm experiencing that are just from stimuli in my life. Right now, I feel a little bit anxious. I feel a little bit excited. I feel whatever else might be coming my way. The more I'm aware of that, the more I can regulate my system, the more I can be in right relationship to everybody around you, right relationship to myself, right relationship to other people, right relationship to the more than human world, more right relationship to God. And so how do I cultivate that? I have practices that I work through. I write, I meditate, I have conversations with people who are more advanced in these realms than me. I ask for accountability in my life to check me when I'm out of line. Those types of things.
Great answer. Great answer. Chris?
I say when I was younger, maybe in my 20s, I had a problem expressing my emotions and my feelings. But I guess as you get older and just mature, I understand, very similar to what Kyle said, it's your feelings, it's information, and I guess the biggest and most challenging thing is learning how to articulate those emotions. Now, I don't just go around sharing with everybody what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. It's a privilege to get that much information from me. It's a privilege to be able to share and confide those things into certain people. But I think it's extremely important that we as people are aware of our emotions and able to articulate, some things we're feeling and going through to the people that matter. not just to anybody. Because I met a lot of people that are like, oh, he's super angry all the time. This dude is super angry all the time, you know, and they just look at that person like an angry person. But if they're that passionate when they're angry, they're extremely hurt when they're hurt, you know, or excited when they're excited. Like, you just can't be a walking, raging fireball without being a walking, raging, individual when you're sad, when you're happy, and things of that nature. So being able to articulate them is the most challenging thing, and having the confidence to articulate them is even bigger.
Yeah, and I would like to pick up on that too. Like where Chris said you can't walk around like a raging ball. I had to learn that probably about 3 or 4 years ago, when I was about to have my son, right before he was born. And one of my closest friends is actually there on the retreat. Well, two of them, Jakai and Jameer, and they kind of told me, they're just like, dude, like, you need to learn how to express yourself. So now it's kind of like the way I navigate my daily emotions and stuff now, because my son is here in Colombia with me. Whenever I have a rough day, that's my go-to. Kind of like Byron said, his wife is his go-to when he's emotional. So my son, if I'm having a bad day, sometimes it could be something simple like watching Paw Patrol with him. So it's just learning, like Byron said, finding somebody that can be your outlet, I guess. So yeah, that's how I navigate my daily emotions.
I want to piggyback on something that Chris said also, if I may. You talk about sometimes being perceived as being angry when it's really passion. There's a big difference. Now you can be passionate and angry, but oftentimes I am perceived as being angry when in fact I'm not angry at all. I'm just passionate about what it is I'm speaking of, and the way it comes across may come across as anger to somebody. But there's a big difference, and there are some people, people of color especially, are often mistaken as being angry when they're merely passionate about what it is they speak of. So thanks for sharing that, Chris.
Yeah, and I think one of the symptoms of whiteness and white supremacy in the world is an aversion to strong emotions. And there is a tampering of those experiences to say those are not permitted. And I think that that's a means of control. And it's something that for me as a white person, I am seeking to undo in my own life. And so for me as a white person, at least, and in my work with white people and undoing our internalized racial superiority, is to say we have to be comfortable with emotions in the room, and we have to build skills to understand what we're experiencing from moment to moment, because those sensations are happening and we're just burying them. And so many times, at least for me, in my emotional responses, it's just energy. It's trying to go somewhere, it's trying to do something. And so if I can name it, I can actually aim that energy in a particular direction to accomplish whatever goal I'm trying to accomplish, whether it's to be understood, whether it's to let people know with my anger that a boundary has been crossed, whether to let people know with my sadness that there's something, that there's disconnection happening and I want connection. There's the opportunity to come closer to one another, to actually understand.
Great answers. In your opinion, what are the key elements of personal growth, and how do you ensure your continuous evolving as an individual?
I mean, I could rave about this for 3 millennia, because this is what my work is. But for me, the question is, what does it mean to be a human being? And we all have to wrestle with that. So if I'm talking about growth, I'm talking about that there's an end goal to whatever I'm striving after. And so the question becomes, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be a good human? And what does it mean for you to be human? And those are, every culture, every philosophy, every religion has a different perspective about what it means to be a human being and what we're actually aiming at, what we're trying to become. And so for me, it's about getting really clear about what it means to be human. For me, what it means to be human is to develop all of my capacities to the best of my ability. So my emotional capacities, my spiritual capacities, my social capacities, etc. I'm going to try to develop myself as best as I can, acknowledging my limitations, knowing that I need to meet people along the way who can help me and who can move me forward. But I think that there's two primary things. It's to be in relationship to myself, in relationship to other humans, in relationship to nature or the more than human world, in relationship to the divine in all of her or his forms, and to develop myself in all of my capacities. So that's how I know that I am moving through my own development, my own growth. And if I can stay on track, I know that there's measurements along the way.
I feel like that's a great answer. When I'm thinking about personal growth and ensuring my continuous evolving, it's constant learning. I feel like I feel like I'm a forever learner, and that goes in all walks and all capacities, whether it be learning to manage my emotions, becoming better with my emotional intelligence, or just learning and reading more about things that are going on. I feel like it helps make me a more well-rounded and diverse individual. Gives me new lessons about myself on a daily basis. Things that I didn't know mattered, or things that I was ignorant on. The comment I spoke about the young woman who was upset about ladies. I had no clue that people thought ladies was offensive. I took it and moved on. And even though I may not have agreed with it, I would then refer to my female colleagues in those situations as teammates, things of that nature. So, everything, take it as a lesson. Don't take things so personal. Look for those opportunities to develop, read, engage with people who don't look like you, or from the same walk, and don't be offended by some of their responses. That's their right. But being a forever learner in all capacities and all walks is pretty important to personal evolution, in my opinion.
I think for sure that first of all, thank you for those answers. I'm going to steal some clues from you two guys. I appreciate them. Relationship is definitely important. Relationship with my family, relationship with my church, relationship with God. And I say church and God because it's not the same thing. I go to church, but that's not the same as my relationship with God. My relationship with God is 24/7. As much as it sometimes wanes, and I know I need to go to the well and get replenished. But going to church is a little different. That's more fellowship with my brother and my sister than anything else. But relationship with family, relationship with church, relationship with God, those are the things that keep me balanced, that keep me growing. I got to tell you though, it's not always easy the older I get. My answer to this question may have been different 20, 30 years ago. I'm 63 years old, and the older I get, the harder it is to remain. Some things that I think should be easier as I get older, you can find yourself becoming lax in certain things. So I find that I have to be intentional about nurturing those relationships, because those things that you nurture are the things that are going to grow. If you don't nurture that relationship at home, or that relationship at church, or with God, if you don't nurture those things, you'll find yourself slipping away from them. And I know that from experience. There's been ups and downs, peaks and valleys in my 60-some years. And it's extremely important to nurture those things and be intentional. Otherwise, you'll find yourself weak in one area or the other, not understanding why. But those are the things, relationship for sure.
That was a great answer from all three of you. Byron, your answer really plays into the next question that was submitted by our ladies. What is your spiritual orientation, if religious, and what does your walk with God look like?
Well, if that's a question for me specifically, I'll say that
That's a question
I'm
for everyone. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll go ahead anyway, if you don't mind. Peaks and valleys, ups and downs. It's not always a mountaintop experience. Sometimes I'm in the valley, but I thank God that I don't go through the valley by myself. And my relationship has to be one where I'm relying on my higher power. I have come to realize that I can't do it on my own, whatever it is. The only thing that I can do on my own is mess up. So the relationship has to be daily, and it has to be revisited on a regular basis. And that's the only way to keep that spiritual walk. I'm in the music ministry at my church, and I find that I can't minister to others unless I have been ministered to. So I find myself ministering to myself in my car, in my truck, all week long, so that I can get something that I can share when I finally get with my brothers and sisters in fellowship. I don't think that I can share unless my cup is running over. So in order to keep my cup full and running over, I have to constantly go to the well, because I feel weakness when I don't do so.
You know, I think that this kind of plays on our last question, which is for me that I measure my own growth by whether or not curiosity is present. And when curiosity is not present, I'm very aware that I am not walking in relationship or in the presence of the divine. And so for me, when I think about God or religion or spirituality, I spent 10 years as a pastor before really navigating some questions around masculinity and gender and sexuality, and that, man, these things just don't prescribe to this binary. You know, we say ladies, and I'm sure that even in this group of femme presenting people, that they're not all ladies. You know, there might be difference around that. And so my wrestling, my curiosity became, who is God? How do I view God? How do I experience God? And how does that experience shape me? And so for me, there's a few things that have remained from me being a Christian, which I would still say that I am a Christian. I just might not fall into maybe some of the more traditional sense of that term, which is to say that how you know a tree by its fruit, right? You know a tree by its fruit. And what is the fruit of the Spirit? It is love, it is peace, it is patience, it is gentleness, it is self-control. I know that if I am walking with God, those things are being cultivated in my life. And so I'm moving towards the evidence of the divine in my life. So is peace showing up in my world? Is patience? Is love? Is connectedness? Is justice showing up in my world? That's how I'm oriented to the divine. And so for me, I study world religions. I've traveled the world. I've experienced different cultures and different worldviews, which is a privilege that I don't take lightly. And I know it's a privilege that not many have. But in being exposed to different worldviews and different perspectives, there's this persistence of curiosity. Like, oh, do I even have this right? And so for me, the way that I know that I am pointed in the right direction is this cultivating in me the qualities, the fruit of the Spirit that is of Christ? Am I following after the Sermon on the Mount? Am I feeding the hungry? Am I showing up for those who are oppressed? Am I becoming like Christ? And who is the Christ? And am I actually experiencing that Christ in my day-to-day life? Or am I just ascending to these kind of cognitive belief systems that actually isn't changing my life? So I could preach, so I'm just not gonna.
Well, amen. My walk is a unique one. I've always believed in God, but I've always questioned the Bible because I'm well aware that, you know, some man out there started writing that, and, you know, it can be used to cause great problems and issues, you know, to say there. Quite often I think, my relationship with God or that spiritual walk varies. Sometimes it's an abusive relationship and I ain't the one doing the abuse. But there's always good lessons at the end. I just believe that, I've always been one to tell people, like, I don't care what you believe, just believe in something. And through that, I'm able to experience, as Byron said, some peaks and valleys, but always some understanding. So, it might be unique at times, it might be tumultuous, but everybody's is individual and tailored to them. It's not as unique as others, but yeah, I guess that sums up mine.
Okay, those are great answers. We're going to move on to the next section of perspectives on women. What is your interpretation of a modest woman, and does the outer appearance affect your interpretation of a woman?
Yes. The outer appearance definitely affects my interpretation of a woman. And I'll be first to tell you that I can be wrong. You can't judge a book by its cover, and I understand that. However, sometimes the outer appearance, will affect the way I think of a woman. Absolutely. I will go further to say that I believe a woman sometimes intentionally makes her outer appearance such that it makes an impression on me. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think a woman ought to dress and present herself in such a way that she wants to be respected, and depending on her walk in life and what she's seeking, maybe even desirable. Now, am I wrong for thinking that? I may be, but I'm honest. So judge me if you must. But absolutely, I think that modesty has a lot to do with the way a woman carries herself and what she dresses, how she dresses. I think a woman can dress in modest clothing and be extremely attractive, and even more so attractive than a woman who may be overdoing it, doing too much. Let me have a little bit of imagination. You don't have to show me everything.
Great answer, Byron.
So my interpretation of a modest woman, that's tough. Because I look for the confidence in a woman. So a modest woman, just falls in the line with someone who is not, boisterous about, things they possess or how they look. I tell people all the time, I'm not one to get caught up in your appearance. And by that, I mean, like, I can't judge you by your appearance. I'm going out on a limb with this statement here. So Tanya, if you don't back me up on this, I've been told I come off as cocky, arrogant, and as an asshole. But I would hope people who know me, Tanya, would speak contradictory to that. And they base that based on, how I dress, or things of that nature. So I have to be the change I want. You know what I'm saying? I don't want people to assume this and this and this just off of how I look, how I dress, or things of that nature. I would prefer them to get to know the person. So just because I may or may not agree with, how someone is dressing or their appearance, I think it depends on what I'm looking for, what I'm pursuing. Am I pursuing this person just to get to know them? Am I, because I don't want to just draw a conclusion. If I'm just getting to know them on a regular basis, am I pursuing this person in a romantic aspect? Then absolutely, different things come into factor. But I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt, no matter what their appearance. Now, I do tell my daughter, who is 18, I said, look, you dress how you want to be received. Now, everybody's not going to look at it from a mature aspect and say, oh, just because she's wearing this and this and this doesn't mean she that. That's not the case. Is it fair? No. Is it the society we live in? Yes. So, I always tell her, look, just be mindful. We both know who you are and how you are, but people make their perceptions based off what they see and not what they know. So, yeah, doesn't affect mine, but it affects people.
Man, I just don't agree. And respectfully, like, I think a previous version of me did, and I think that's why I can sit from a centered place on this one. But I think that when I think about prejudice, literally the term prejudice means to prejudge, and the question that comes with prejudice means that I have to be conscious of where my prejudgments are coming from. What is informing my judgments about others, about what modesty is, what modesty isn't, and whether or not it's my business at all. And so for me, modesty means to be unassuming. And so for me, to be unassuming or moderate is something we could strive for, but who says I have to? I'm asking the second question behind the question. Who says modesty is important? Why is modesty important? Who told me that? And how is modesty being played out in the day-to-day? And so the modest question is one of itself, is like, why do we value modesty? Is modesty something that we should really uphold? And the second is to say a modest woman, and then to say, like, why do I get a say? Why do I get a say in how anybody decides to show up? It's not my business. In a society that treats women or women presenting people in particular ways, I have parts of me that care deeply, that say, like, I resonate with what you said, Chris. It's like, the way you dress is it's how you're going to be treated, or how you're going to be received. And I think that that's a truism in our world. And I wish it wasn't the case. I wish people, women, men, everywhere in between, had the freedom to express themselves fully. And so when I ask these questions about what does modesty mean, what does it mean to be a woman, what does it mean to be a man, what does it mean to be human, I'm asking further questions about, what does it mean to be in relationship well to one another? Why do you get to dictate how I dress? Why do you get to treat me based upon your prejudgment about how I dress? And so I can spin out on some of those concerns. So for me, I come back to personal responsibility, and I come back to not my business. And so if a woman or a woman presenting person who I might be attracted to walks up to me and has a low cut shirt, it is my responsibility as a masculine person, or as a person in general, to know my own shortcomings, to know my own temptations, and to know that that's not my business. That person can show up however they need to. And it's my responsibility to know what's happening in my internal world, know what my boundaries are, know what my experiences are, in order to then move from that place. And again, to me, it's like, well, what does it mean to be a human? What does it mean to be a good person? It means that I'm trying to develop myself fully. And that means that I'm trying to be liberated in the fullest extent of that word, which means that I am totally free in Christ, free in the way I dress, free in the way I express, free in the way I talk, free in the way I have sex, free in the way that I study, free in the way that I, yada, 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 go down the line. So modesty for me, it's like, I don't have the Christian worldview there. Yes, my friend.
All that freedom is good. And you're also free to swing your fist as long as it doesn't hit my nose. So I would say that the way a person dresses does have an effect on me. And I think that's what the question was. Does the outer appearance affect your interpretation of a woman? My answer is a solid yes. It's a solid yes. Whether I have a right to expect one thing or another of her is a different question. But absolutely, the outer appearance does affect my interpretation of a woman. I may be wrong for having that interpretation, whatever it is.
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. I think that the answer for me is yes, it does. It elicits a response, or it elicits a reaction from me, right? And for me, the question is is that reaction about them, or is that reaction actually about me?
And the
About the
answer is
thing that
yes.
And so for me, it's like now I come back to my responsibility. I come back to me, and I navigate my stuff in the expression of the other person. And so it's for me, it's like I'm not going to control what that other person's going to do, but I do have to be with whatever is being elicited in the presence of that other person.
Okay, guys. Not to cut the conversation short. We are on a tight time frame, so we have to answer some of the questions in the comments from the ladies at the retreat. Those were some great answers. Again, not to cut you all short. Tanya should be posting some questions at the bottom. Okay.
I see that question about my wife
Hey,
adopting the same practice of withholding from me those emotions or feelings that she may cause, that may cause discomfort or distress, and if so, how do I feel about it? I think the answer is probably yes. I think she has her things that she keeps to herself for fear of worrying me. How do I feel about it? Probably the same way that she feels about it. I feel I can be a contributor and help if she shares, but I respect her right to keep things to herself if she's doing it to protect me. I respect that right. And I appreciate the fact that she respects it in me.
okay, thank you. So we have one final walk away question. So as we conclude our panel, we would like to thank you again for joining today. We invite you to share. We invite each of you to share your personal message for women here today, reflecting on their worth and power from your perspective. How can women embrace their uniqueness and strengths as they journey towards finding peace within themselves?
Say it one more time.
From your perspective, how can women embrace their uniqueness and strengths as they journey towards finding peace within themselves?
I think it's pretty much a universal thing. Just learn you. You know what I'm saying? Take that trip. Experience that person. Try this new thing. You got to understand you. At your younger ages, a lot of people are afraid to do certain things. Don't be. Just go. Just do it. Just learn as much as you can about you without that fear. Now, I'm not saying go out here and do crazy stuff. And crazy stuff is always, up to an interpretation. But don't live a life of regret. I tell people all the time, one of the best lessons I learned in Afghanistan was we were on a patrol going to this compound. I saw one dude step on the spot. I saw two dudes step on the spot. The third dude stepped on the same spot, but the fourth dude stepped on that spot and then went boom. And I was like, damn, it was traumatic to see. But what I learned from that is you go when you're supposed to go, not the day before or after. So there's nothing you can do to I guess you could say frame that picture. So enjoy those exciting experiences. Try those new lessons or things of that nature. Go to those, go see different cultures and things of that nature. But most importantly, keep you at the forefront. Take care of you, who you are, your star player, and experience life. That's the best advice I can give. That's the same advice I give to my daughter. Now, if it was my daughter, I'd tell her, look, just don't do nothing too crazy because daddy crazy. But other than that,
Yeah, I would echo what you just said, Chris. Learn as much as you can about yourself. Learn about yourself. Explore the world. But be careful not to despise the days of your youth. Don't do things that when you look back on it as an older person, you'll feel shame for having done it. And I know I'm going to get some pushback up there in the top corner because you do what you want to do. But I think we come from different perspectives, different walks, different experiences, and different ages. At my age, I think it's important that as you learn about yourself, and I know we're talking about women, as you learn about yourself, ensure that the steps that you take today, you don't have a lot of regrets about those steps tomorrow, because your past can't be wiped clean. And I'm not saying walk on eggshells. Learn about yourself. Embrace. I think the answer is in the question. Um, Embrace who you are. Whoever you are, embrace who you are. Um, Exercise self-improvement if you feel like you need to. But the Bible says, despise not the days of thy youth. And I think that's good, wise counsel.
I want to be clear that I'm not talking about freedom to do whatever you want. I think that our freedom is governed by particular virtues and particular principles, and that we have to be well-developed people in order to actually experience true freedom. And so when I hear just embrace yourself, sometimes we're shitty people. Don't embrace that. Don't. We need to invite people into our worlds. We need to invite perspectives into our worlds that allow us to see clearly, that we are seeing the clear reflection of who we are, and we're seeing the clear reflection of the divine within us. And so when God, if I were to take the Buddhist perspective, that peace, how do we find peace? That peace is in every breath. That peace is about becoming more and more aware of our current experiences and being able to name them and navigate them from a place of stillness. And so for me, it's not freedom for freedom's sake. It's not do whatever you want. It's actually examine yourself. Who do you want to be? Who are you? What are the cards that you were dealt? Are you going to be honest about them or pretend that they're not there? And to be really truthful with yourself and surround yourself with people who love you, and not love in a shallow way, love in a way that challenges you to become the best version of yourself you could possibly become, and then actually move towards that end. And so for me, to embrace your uniqueness and your strength means you have to actually take off all of the burden and weight that has been heaped on top of you. And you have to do that in community. And you find peace by finding stillness in your every moment. That when your reaction to be angry, your reaction to turn away arises, that you are able to take a breath and be able to be with that reaction so that you can actually respond from stillness, respond from peace, respond from calm, respond from the centeredness that is God and the divine that works in us.
And I would like to add something to this. Only thing I can say is to love yourself. Always put yourself first. And just know at the end of the day, do not pour into someone else more than you pour into yourself. Take care of yourself first, because there's nobody on this earth that will love you more than you love yourself. So as long as you're taking care of yourself, you're heading in the right direction.
Well, we love this conversation that was just had with you all. Thank you so much. I've been hearing so many comments, and a few comments like, this is the best panel we've had. So thank you. I don't know if you can hear them, but you all are getting a round of applause right now for such a great session. So thank you so much. For you all, we have some announcements for you all live, but you see they're clapping, they're giving you all the love, they are saying all the good things. Okay, so thank y'all so much, and we'll see you later. This has been another year of the male exclusive panel here at She 2025. And here's the crazy thing, guys. This year, 2025, it's our 10th anniversary. So we started with the male exclusive. We have ever evolving, but we love the idea of bringing in different perspectives. So while we're here and loving on ourselves and growing, we can still invite space for you all to come and just help us grow a little, stretch a little, and expand our thoughts as well. So thank y'all so much and have a great night, ladies and guys. Hang on just a second.